following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. We're going to be talking about a topic tonight that seems to come and go. It's a topic that I believe still needs to be fully investigated. And of course, that is the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Joining me tonight this hour is George SCHWIMMER, and George is an author. His book that we talked about previously was on doppelgangers here in the X Zone, but he has a new book out called Murder in Dallas, and his books are available on Amazon.com. And now joining me is George SCHWIMMER. And George, welcome back to the X Zone.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
George, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 92 years old.
God bless you.
So I've got a lot behind me. I was, for the first half of my adult life, I was a theater director and college professor. And later on, I got involved with a lot of metaphysical disciplines like past life therapy. And because of that, I started writing. And then about 15 years ago, I started writing full time.
All right, George, I have to ask you this very important question. What's your secret to longevity?
One is my DNA. The second one is I haven't eaten any red meat for 35 years. I stopped smoking when I was 37. So I think all those contributed to it.
Well, whatever it is, it works. You look great. You sound great. And thank you so much for joining us tonight, George.
My pleasure.
George, why the fascination with the Kennedy assassination?
It's not really a fascination. It is a sense of responsibility. I feel, as do thousands of other citizens, that the truth has been hidden by the United States government for almost 60 years now, and I feel I have a responsibility. You know, I was very fond of John Kennedy, like most people. About 60% of the people were in love with him at the time.
Sure were.
And it's not fair. The other thing that's not fair is that Lee Harvey Oswald, who's not really Lee Harvey Oswald, was falsely accused, and it has been shown over and over again that he was falsely accused, and they still keep on saying lone gunman, 3 shots, Italian rifle, etc.
Why was Lee Harvey Oswald selected to be the fall person for the Kennedy assassination?
According to what I've read, the CIA was not happy that Oswald came home alive. And, when you send a spy to Russia and he comes back, the immediate suspicion is going to be he's a agent. And so apparently they never trusted him. I believe Oswald himself believed that. And that's why they chose him as a patsy, because he was, they didn't need him anymore. He was just somebody they could throw away.
So he was disposable.
Yeah, he was disposable. Exactly.
What was the connection, in your opinion, with Jack Ruby with the entire JFK assassination?
That's a very gray area. I didn't go into very much research on that. But as you know, Ruby came from Chicago, and he started working with the mob when I think he was about 16 or 14. He was something like a numbers runner. And so he was connected to the mob all of his life. Now, he was also, according to some sources, connected to the CIA. He was running guns to Cuba. And first he was running them to Castro, and then he was running them to the anti-Castro people. So there was this connection between the CIA and Ruby. And then, there were all these mobsters. Carlos Marcello in New Orleans, he knew him. And Ruby traveled a lot between Dallas and New Orleans, and he was looking for dancers for his two nightclubs. So there's this connection with the CIA, and but it's very difficult to see exactly how he was connected. He was connected. There was I didn't bother following because I wasn't following Ruby, but I remember reading that in the days or weeks before and after the assassination, Ruby phoned I don't know how many dozens of mob people around the country, and of course nobody has the slightest idea what he was saying to these people. But that in itself tells you what sort of a person he was.
Why do you believe, George, that the U.S. government or the powers to be want to keep the real reason why JFK was assassinated from being known and being exposed to the public?
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and the most likely thing I feel at this point, I can't understand the people at the bottom. I can't understand people, who are, let's say, mid-level or slightly higher managers in the CIA or the FBI or whatever. I don't understand why they're doing it. But for the top people, I believe, particularly at this time in history, so many people in the country distrust government. I don't trust the government anymore. I stopped trusting the United States government after I started doing this research. If they can cover something like that up, you can't really trust the people at the top. So a lot of the average American at this point, as you know, feel they can't trust the government, and the government knows that.
Right.
So if they were to go and say, "Oh, okay, we're going to go and release this information," then a great many people would say, "Aha, I knew it." On the other hand, I feel if the CIA came out one day and said, "Okay, we just elected a new president. I'm a new CIA director. I think it's time that the real history of this country is known, and I'm going to reveal exactly what happened." I think the American public would appreciate it very much. They would appreciate the honesty of the new people. But the old people, they're just trying to protect their own backs. That's all.
I guess this is a question that has been asked and will be thought about for many years to come, my friend, is why was JFK assassinated?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I made a list in both of my books. You can't say why because there were too many people involved.
Really?
But number one, he was breaking up the CIA. He had started breaking it up already. He had transferred the power to do covert assignments to the Pentagon a few months before he was killed. Everybody is pretty certain that Lyndon Johnson would have been dumped as vice president, and he was under investigation for corruption, and a lot of people feel that he would have been president. There are the oil depletion allowance. The oil people hated him because he was going to eliminate or greatly reduce the oil depletion allowance. The Federal Reserve, Kennedy had printed $5 billion in silver certificates And there was this, some people feel he would have gotten rid of the Federal Reserve and have the U.S. Treasury issue money instead of the Federal Reserve. By the way, a lot of people don't realize, but the Federal Reserve is not a government organization. It's a consortium of private banks. Okay. So, and the U.S. government is paying the Federal Reserve huge amounts of money. If we didn't have to go and pay the interest to the Federal Reserve, we would have no deficit right now. So there's a lot of other ones I can't remember all offhand. But the Pentagon. The Pentagon was totally ticked off with him. First, because he wouldn't send fighter jets for the Bay of Pigs. Then because he wouldn't authorize a second invasion. Then because in October, about a month before he was assassinated, he signed a presidential order telling the Pentagon to pull all the troops out of Vietnam, starting in November, the first 1,000, and then every month after that, 1,000 troops each month. I think we had about 16,500 troops at that time. And so he wanted them out by the time his term was up. And of course, that made the Pentagon very unhappy. And then Curtis LeMay, who was the chief of the Air Force, he wanted to atomic bomb in Russia, if you can imagine that. And when Kennedy said, "Well, how many casualties do you think would result?" And he said, LeMay said, "Oh, I guess about 40 million Americans." So I mean, yeah. So there's others also, but I mean, there was an awful lot of people who hated him. I'm sure the steel people hated him because he rolled back that of U.S. Steel looked like an idiot. So there was no dearth of the mafia hated him because Bobby Kennedy was just seemed determined to go and destroy the mob. And there are accounts that the mob knew ahead of time that Kennedy was going to be killed, and that certain mob figures may have contributed money, including Jimmy Hoffa. So that's why people wanted to kill him.
Speaking about Jimmy Hoffa, how long after the Kennedy assassination did Jimmy Hoffa himself disappear? And is there any connection between in your opinion, between his disappearance and any connection within the Kennedy assassination?
I don't know. I haven't read anything about that. I don't know anything about it. I think there was a vague, I run across some vague mention, but I can't give you anything particular about that.
All right, George, we've got to take our first break. Exo Nation, Dr. George Schwimmer is our very special guest, 92 years young. God bless you, George. You look great. Keep smiling, buddy. We'll be back on the other side of this break. At Exo Nation, George's latest book, Murder in Dallas, is available on Amazon.com, as well as George's other books. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of the short break with our very special guest this hour discussing Murder in Dallas, the one and only Dr. George Schwimmer. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Chang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and nonverbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here in the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and the X Zone is coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, the X Zone Broadcast Network, and exclusive to Simul TV on Channel 32, which is the X Zone TV channel. My guest this hour is Dr. George SCHWIMMER, and we're talking about George's latest book, Murder in Dallas. It's available on Amazon.com. George, tell us a little bit about your book.
I didn't intend to write this. This was an accidental book.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the Kennedy thing when I wrote Doppelganger, but every researcher in this particular area, once you're hooked, you're hooked. You're not going to lose interest for the rest of your life, whether you do anything with it or not. So I was still interested in keeping track of any new books that were coming along and so on. And one day I noticed a couple of things. Number one, the best books are all out of print. And if you want to get them, like Best Evidence, which was published 40 years ago, you got to pay $275. Well, your average reader is not going to pay $275 for a book, on the Kennedy assassination. The second thing that I suddenly started becoming aware of was that there were certain facts that you would only find in 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 books out of maybe 2,000 published. And there were certain facts that were really surprising. And so I started thinking, and I thought, well, I think that, the current generation deserves a book that tells them what happened on that day. And so I focused on that day particularly. I started out the book a couple of days before November 22nd, because there were a couple of things that were very provocative. And then, of course, the days after the assassination and with the murder of Oswald.
Right. Yeah.
So I felt, number one, that obnoxious to say, but it just seemed to me that there isn't a book for the current generation, number one. And number two, there are certain facts that really even the Kennedy, the JFK theorists seem to be avoiding for some reason. I don't know why. And so all of that put together, I thought, okay, I have most of the information already. I did most of the research already. I just needed to go and comb through the research to put the pieces together.
Over the years, you've been quite vocal about your beliefs about the JFK assassination. Have you ever been targeted or threatened because of what you're writing?
No, interestingly, I haven't. But I think that's because I self-published, and so there hasn't been a lot of publicity by a publisher trumpeting what's going on. But I think you know, there were cases where some authors never published their books because they were afraid of being killed. I mean, that's recorded. So, but I think that particular threat went away, as far as I can tell, anyway, after the turn of the century. And so I think about, you know, since 2000, I don't think that I haven't ever read or heard about anybody being threatened from that time on, although they were threatened previously.
In your opinion, in your new book, Murder in Dallas, what is some of the more recent and intriguing events that you've published that makes it different from your first book about Doppelganger?
Okay. I want to mention one which surprised me.
Okay.
Everybody's familiar with the Warren Commission report that says Kennedy was shot from the back and it went out through his throat, and then he was shot, and then he was shot from the front. So he was shot with 2 shots. The researchers said there were 3 shots. And somewhere when I was doing this research, I ran across somebody who said, I saw a bullet hole on the left forehead of John Kennedy. And I sort of went, whoa, where did that come from? Well, that particular one came from a Canadian journalist who was standing about 10 feet from Kennedy when he was shot. So I went back to the most likely books that would have such information, and I found 14 different sources that said Kennedy was shot in the left forehead. You're not going to find that put together in any other book.
There are thousands of photos on the internet about Kennedy's assassination. Do any of the photos corroborate this statement about the forehead shot?
No, but just to give you an idea, the priest who gave John Kennedy the last rites reported when he left the emergency room, he was accosted by reporters, and he told them that he saw a grievous wound on Kennedy's left forehead. So the guy is standing 3 feet away from him, giving him last rites. And the other of the 14, I think 10 were doctors who were standing within 1 to 3 feet away from Kennedy's head. There were 2 news reports, and then there was one other witness on the street. I don't think he was I think he was at the hospital. I'm not sure about that one. But anyway, they're all documented. There are 14 of them.
With 14 documented sightings or statements, and yet not one photo collaborates it. How do we explain that?
It's very simple. If you go over the research, you will find that the FBI knocked themselves out getting their hands on every single photograph they could possibly get their hands on. For example, this pair of young women were taking photographs, and apparently, and this is really, you know, it makes you stop and think. They were grabbed after the assassination by men who said they were with the Secret Service. The Secret Service said they had no men in Dealey Plaza. These men grabbed these two ladies one at a time, dragged them off into a building on the east side of Dealey Plaza, took away their camera, took their film. I think they had six. I think they had taken 6 pictures. They got back 3 of them that day. The other 3 they got back, I think it was months later, and the background on all of them was scratched out. And so that was just one example. But apparently there were people up in the building on the east side of Dealey Plaza who were watching the murder scene to see who was taking pictures. And they identified them, and they sent people down and grabbed them and brought them in. So that is just one instance, but that is very typical. There are other films and motion pictures that have simply vanished. Nobody knows what happened to them.
Then how come the Zapruder film still remains?
I'll tell you, I haven't gone into a lot of research with the Zapruder film, but there are a great many people who have, and apparently the Zapruder film has been totally manipulated in ways that you wouldn't imagine that people in 1963 could do it. But I mean, they not only cut frames from it, but they somehow manipulated images in it as well. And the Zapruder film is not what happened. Any number of people will tell you that the analysis of the film is that film was enormously tampered with, and you can't trust anything. Just recently, somebody published a book. I want to get hold of it. It's called the JFK Horsemen, and these were the 4 motorcycle policemen who were riding just slightly behind the Kennedy limousine. And they claim that the limousine came to a complete halt, and that some of the Secret Service people jumped out of their follow car, and they had machine guns. You don't see that on the Zapruder film. But these 4 guys claim, these 4 policemen all claim that that's what happened. So you really can't trust what the Zapruder film shows.
So it seems that you've got the let me see here. You've got the Army Special Services, you've got the FBI, you've got the CIA, you've got the Dallas Police Department, and other alphabetical government agencies all involved in this one assassination to rid Kennedy of the office of president. How could they get away with this without anything being leaked prior to it?
Oh, it was leaked. It was leaked prior to it, but it was hidden. One of the first things I have in my book, which is well known to researchers, is a woman named Rose Shirami, and she was on her way to Dallas from I think it was Miami, and she got into some kind of hassle with the 2 guys who were driving, and they threw her out of the car. And so she was taken to a hospital. Somebody found her, took her to a hospital. And she was a drug addict and prostitute. And she apparently was under the influence of drugs at the time. So they sent her to well, I don't know if it's a mental hospital, but another hospital where they treat people with drug addiction.
A rehab center.
Well, it wasn't a rehab center. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it was in Louisiana. And a state trooper took her there. And he asked her, well, what are you doing here and what happened to you? Why were you going to Dallas? And her response was, let me see. Number 1, to get money. Number 2, to pick up my baby. And number 3, to kill Kennedy. And when she got to this rehab center or whatever it was, it was reported later that she told the staff also that Kennedy would be killed on Friday. So here is a prostitute, a drug user, and she knows that Kennedy's going to be killed. There was a lot of leaks.
All right, George, stand by. We've got to take our break. Exonation, Dr. George Schwimmer is our guest. He's the author of Murder in Dallas, and it's available on Amazon.com. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back after this short break. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. SIMULTV.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
SIMULTV.com.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
SIMULTV.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. SIMULTV.com.
Dr. George Schwimmer is our special guest this hour. Exonation, we're talking to George about his new book that's available on Amazon.com. It's entitled Murder in Dallas. First of all, George, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. Always a great pleasure speaking with you. And like I said, my God, you look great for a young man of 92.
Thank you.
George, what do you want people to take away from after they read your book?
What you have taken away is what I hear a lot lately on the guests on MSNBC. I'm a great watcher of MSNBC, and they have a whole lot of guests there of all stripes. And they say, you know, nothing is going to get done unless people are willing to do something about it. And as though the first thing, I mean, if you have a democracy, you can't have that kind of information hidden. It eats away at the soul of the country. If I may talk from a spiritual point of view, I quote Shakespeare Hamlet and Sophocles' Oedipus, where in both cases the city or the country was infected, and all kinds of things were happening. They're having riots and epidemics, and it sort of made me think about the COVID right now. But it makes me feel like, you know, it sounds a little bit airy-fairy, but I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, and I understand how things work spiritually. And you cannot go and hide spiritual things. They will come to the surface one day or another. If not now, then later. Okay, so maybe it'll take us 100 years to find out what really happened for whatever reason. But people have to know, you know, just generally, I would say to people, don't trust anything unless you verify it. It's just that simple. I don't care who it is, you know. I mean, I basically trust my current president, Joe Biden, but I don't trust him 100% because I know every single president we've ever had has hidden things and are still hiding things. according to them, of course, it's national security. And
Right.
this is one of the reasons we still have something like, I think the last figure I heard was 16,000 documents that should have been released a long time ago. And the CIA keeps saying national security. What kind of national security 60 years later? I mean, that's nonsense.
Well, something I can't understand. According to law, the CIA is not allowed to operate within the United States, or the continental United States. So
Right.
how has this been allowed to happen without any major feedback and major shakeup by Congress and the Senate if the CIA itself is breaking the law?
They're afraid. They're afraid. Somebody wrote, Richard Belzer and I think David Wayne, they wrote a book and they documented, I think, something like 70 murders of people of all kinds, including one or two CIA people who were murdered by the CIA. Peter Janney wrote a book about the mother of a close friend of his when he was a child, and she was Kennedy's mistress.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been the wife of a high CIA official, and she was murdered a few months after Kennedy was, because she knew stuff about the assassination, because she knew all the people involved. She knew all the CIA people, she knew all their wives, and she had been Kennedy's mistress. So, the thing with, let me just say a little bit about the CIA, because I think to me, it's absolutely obvious that the ground game was planned by the CIA. It was carried out by various sundry people, but it was planned by the CIA. And if I had no other reason to know that is because the tremendous amount of confusion, misdirection, misinformation that they generated. The two main men was E. Howard Hunt of Watergate fame, and I'm going, can't think of the other one. But anyway, there was these two guys. Howard Hunt is a novelist. David Atlee Phillips. David Atlee Phillips was a playwright, and E. Howard Hunt is a novelist. So these two guys make up all these stories. And when I first started doing research, I couldn't make heads out of it. It's just absolutely, totally confusing. And the reason it was confusing because they kept on throwing stuff in there that had absolutely nothing to do with anything. Let me give you just one example because it just infuriates me. They claim that the Warren Commission claims that Oswald was down in Mexico City, that he went to the Cuban consulate, he went to the Soviet embassy, he phoned the Soviet embassy twice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Somebody, I think it was Ramsey Clark, commissioned a study years later, and a 280-page report was handed in saying Oswald was not in Mexico City. That report is still classified and nobody's been able to see it.
Holy
and
cow.
That's how they got away with it. That's how they got away with it.
George, as always, whenever I'm talking to you, time goes by very fast. Quickly, what are your final words of wisdom for the X Zone Nation tonight?
Be careful as to what you accept, particularly if your government. I don't care what government it is. If it can happen in the United States, it can happen in Canada, it can happen in France. De Gaulle was almost assassinated 3 times. So it can happen in any country whatsoever. You can't accept anything having to do with life and death and control and power. I mean, these people are all obsessed with power and money. That's it. Nothing else exists. Power and money. And so you need to really be informed. You don't have to do a tremendous amount of research. If you go and check out on the internet, you'll find out which are the best books on the Kennedy assassination. Read a couple of them. You'll be absolutely astonished at the kind of stuff that isn't generally known.
George, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations on your new book. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to the next time we meet back here in the X Zone. Until then, be safe, stay well, my friend, and you look great, George.
Thank you, Ron.
Good night, my friend. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to get a copy of Dr. Schwimmer's book, Murder in Dallas, it's available on Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues. Next in line, we're talking about reverse speech. And that only means one thing. David Oates is my guest. We'll be back after the news, so don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and non-verbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.